Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And as the year ends, I wanted to share with you some of the most critical and major tech projects we had in 2024. So whether you're an IT professional or transitioning into tech or just curious about the behind the scenes of real-world tech projects, this video is for you. So if you're interested, please keep on watching, and without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so before we get started, just a disclaimer first that there's some projects where I'm not heavily involved with, so I won't be able to give out details about the project because they're handled by a different team member. But I will be able to give a summary on what the goal of the project is and what are the tasks that are required to do the project. So let's get started with the major project that I have been heavily involved with this 2024, and that is the Switch upgrade project. So if you've been watching this channel for a couple of years now or a couple of months, you have probably seen some of my Switch project videos, especially the Switch configuration videos, and that is one of the major projects that we have this year. So the main goal why we did this project is to replace our legacy fax switches with the newer Cisco Catalyst 9300 switches to increase the network throughput. Okay, so here are the reasons why we had to replace and upgrade our Cisco fax switches. The main reason is that the fax switches has reached its end of life or EOL, and this means that this is no longer supported or updated by the manufacturer, which is Cisco. We also wanted to improve our network infrastructure, and the Cisco fax switches has a lot of limitations when it comes to the architecture. It is considered dependent architecture because they rely heavily on upstream Nexus switches for processing, which limits their independent functionality. So we decided to replace them with the Cisco Catalyst, which are standalone switches. And the fax switches is not really a good implementation for our infrastructure because they are completely reliant on the parent switch, which is really dangerous because it can lead to a potential single point of failure. For example, if the parent switch fails, all of the fax that are dependent on it will also fail. Upgrading to the Cisco Catalyst 9300 switches will have a drastic improvement to our infrastructure because of the high performance and bandwidth that it provides. It supports up to 480 gig per stack for high-speed data transmission, and it's also ideal for modern applications requiring low latency and high throughput. It's also scalable and modular in design, so there's a modular uplink option to support diverse connectivity speeds. You can use 10 gig, 25 gig, or up to 40 gig. And they are also stackable, and you can stack up to 8 switches. Okay, so the biggest challenge for me when it comes to this project is scheduling the downtime that is not impactful on our business operations. So once the switch is configured and racked, we had to move the cables from the old fax switch to the new switch, and moving the cables is very easy, but then scheduling the time where you won't be impacting any production or breaking anything in production is crucial. So it's really very challenging to coordinate a time where everyone can agree on what the best schedule is, and of course communicating it to the different departments involved or different people involved. So that's the most challenging part, because configuration and moving cables are easy. Oh, and also another challenging part for me, but may not be for someone else, is racking the switch. So I find racking a switch one of the most challenging part in here because I don't have a lot of experience racking a switch by myself, so I always need help from another person. Plus the switch is kind of heavy, and lifting it while screwing it in place is also very challenging for me. Probably because I don't have the height and strength also to do that in our rack, so I always have to ask someone for help. So I think that's also another challenging part about this project. My favorite part of this project is probably decommissioning the switches, because when you decommission a switch or a device, it means that everything is working properly. That's why you're able to retire it. So every decommission is my favorite part because that means that the new switch is working properly. There's no more issues, so I can retire the old fax. So the wins for our company is definitely fixing our infrastructure to become more scalable in the future because we are running out of ports in our old fax switches. Also making our switches independent and standalone compared to the fax switches where it has to rely on the main switch for all of its configuration and stuff. So if that main switch goes down, every fax switch that's connected to it is also going to be affected. So having these standalone switches is such a win for us. Also, another win is cleaning up the dead cables because while doing this project, I have noticed that there's a lot of dead cables that weren't unplugged. So now is the chance to clean up the dead cables and also fix the cabling properly and just have proper cable management this time. Another major project that we had this year was the access point upgrade project. So the goal of this project is to replace the aging Cisco AeroNet AirCap P3702i, which is end of life, to be replaced with the modern Cisco Catalyst 9136i access points. This upgrade aims to enhance the company's wireless network performance, reliability, and security to meet current and future business needs. So the key objectives of this access point projects is to improve wireless performance, enhance security, support for modern devices, and future proofing to ensure that the infrastructure meets future technology requirements, including Wi-Fi 6 and 7 capabilities. Here is a brief summary of the implementation plan that we did for the access point project. So, first is assessment and planning, where we conducted a site survey to map existing access point locations and identify the areas needing additional coverage. Next is procurement and pre-configuration, where we procured the Cisco Catalyst 9136i access points and then we pre-configured the APs with SSIDs, security settings, and policies. Next is the deployment, where we replaced the Cisco AeroNet access points with the Catalyst in planned phases, and also we developed a detailed upgrade schedule to minimize the downtime. It is also very important to verify connectivity and performance after each deployment phase. Then, there's the post-deployment testing, where we conducted thorough performance testing, including speed tests, device compatibility checks, and security verifications. It's also important to collect user feedback to identify and resolve any issues. And the final step in the implementation plan is documentation and training. We updated the network documentation to reflect the new access points, and we provided training for the IT staff on managing and troubleshooting the new access points. Okay, so the challenge for this access point project is mounting the new access points to difficult areas. Like if it's too high and too tight, that is very challenging because of course we have to spend more time trying to figure out how to get the access point up there. So that's probably one of the most challenging parts when you're dealing with more physical projects like this, like hardware replacement. So the wins for this project, of course, is better Wi-Fi coverage. We have covered a lot of dead spots because we have fewer access points before. Now we got more access points that covered most of the areas now in our building. Okay, so let's now move on to the next project, which is new computer deployment. The goal of this project is to replace the outdated Intel NUC computers, which we have for almost a decade now, with the HP Mini Elite computers, which will improve the overall system performance and reliability for our users. Unfortunately, we still have NUCs deployed for some of our users and they can no longer handle the requirements for the software, and it also has one native display, which really doesn't help because most of the users now uses multiple monitors, so it tends to overheat and that's what is causing it to die sooner. So my favorite moment in this project is finally getting rid of the NUCs, which are years old. They are so outdated and they have been dying slowly in our company, and they've been having overheating issues because sometimes multiple monitors are plugged into it and sometimes they can't handle powerful software anymore. So it's really good to finally get rid of the NUCs. The wins for us in this project is we now have a more powerful computer with improved features and still keeping the compact design that we like about the Nooks. That's why we chose the Nooks in the first place, because they're very space saving and compact. And the Mini Elite is also the same, but it's more powerful. It has more display ports and better ventilation, so much better specs than the Nooks. Reflecting on these projects, here are some of the key lessons that I will carry forward. First is collaboration is key. Every project succeeded because of teamwork and open communication. When you're working in IT and tech, it's really important to get along with other people, because most of the time there are other people and teams involved, and it rarely happens that only one person is involved in a major project. So learning how to collaborate effectively and also communicate with different teams and different people is one key for a project to succeed. Next is that flexibility wins. Of course, not every project will flow smoothly. There will also be unexpected challenges like hardware delays and configuration issues. So these challenges taught me to always have a backup plan and always have a better implementation plan, so that if there's any unexpected situation, at least there's a contingency plan on what you're gonna do, and also there is a backup just in case an upgrade or a replacement doesn't work. This is also very important to minimize the downtime, especially in production. And last but certainly not the least is documentation matters. Clear and consistent records saved us countless hours during deployment. If everything is well documented, even if there is an unexpected situation or issue that you encounter, you can always have a guide on what to do because you documented it, and it saves you a lot of time and minimizes downtime if everything is in place. So I always say it's better to over document things than not document at all. So that's a wrap on the 2024 projects that we had. I would also love to hear from you. What were your biggest wins or challenges this year? Please drop them in the comment section below. And looking ahead, I'm also super excited about what's coming in 2025 for some projects that we're gonna have, and I'm also gonna share that with you. So please stay tuned and watch out for that next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.